a little different here. Waiting until we get some people logged in. Just gonna shut that computer while I'm doing this. It is Friday, Pie Day. Well, hello, puppies. We are live, 100% live, no delay. So, hi. Oh, here we go. There we go. All right, we're back live. Yeah, no, we're apparently in the middle of a thunderstorm, so maybe this isn't exactly the best timing. But yeah, we're 100% live. Jason, the next meetup game in Las Vegas is March 29th. It's the day after the live stream. So the live stream's on the 28th. It's a 10-10 PLO live mix. It's March 28th is the meetup game. That's a Friday. And then March 28th is the live stream. That's a Friday. And then the meetup game is Saturday, starting at 2 o'clock. And we'll go Saturday 2 to 10. So, but, yeah. I'm just editing videos here. I'm editing Life of a Grinder videos as well as some other ones. But, yeah, you guys can ask me anything you want to. Today is Pie Day, so I don't know if you got your pie. It's the first thing my wife did when she went to town. Grab the dogs, grab some pie, drop the dogs off. So we got 2 viewers. And you guys can ask me whatever you want. I'm going to edit videos while you guys ask questions. So you might hear some background noise. We're going to go... but that's how I edit. I'll turn this down a little bit. So, and this is my first edit for Life of a Grinder, my next episode I'm putting out. I've been busy. We've got the live stream coming up on March 28th. Wayne and I have been trying to put out a couple more videos. I did put up a Badoogie video. I just recorded a Ace to 5 low ball video for tournament strategy that I've got to work on. I'm actually working on 3 different videos right now. And then, yeah, and then I'm going to do a deuce to 7 no limit tournament strategy. Yeah, it is Pie Day, Jason. What's your favorite pie? I got key lime pie this morning. My wife's like, what kind of pie do you want? Key lime pie is my favorite, so... Random media question, random strange question, if you ever wanted to know what my favorite pie is. But yeah, March 14th is called pie because it's 3.1415926. Can't remember. I used to remember it up to like the 11th digit. I like cream pie. All right, that works, Zips, I suppose. But yeah, you guys can ask me whatever you want. Like I said, I'm just editing videos. Are you Sigma? I don't know what Sigma is. I can answer that question. Are you referring to like a fraternity? No, I don't belong to any fraternity. I belong to the fraternity of poker players. If there is ever such fraternity. There's 23 of you guys logged in now. I appreciate that. Advice for getting rid of hemorrhoids. Oh, you know what, Zhang? I'd have to see a photo of that. Why don't you send that to me? No. I don't know. You could probably ask my ex-wife that question. That was an issue she had a lot. 22. I don't know what 22 is, but... But yeah, we're going to be in Vegas. I don't know if you guys were watching the Venetian Poker Live on last week with JRB's 100-200. They do it every Saturday night, but they were talking about the PLO mix that was coming up, so I was pretty excited about that. Hello, King Spencer Cam. Aces, deuces, wild. I'm not really sure what... Is that how you get rid of hemorrhoids, is you play a game called Deuces Wild? I guess. But, yeah, so that's what I've been working on, is 3 different videos at the same time. I have been playing a lot more online. just because I've got like a 2 to 3 week stretch at home, which is amazing, by the way. It lets me get caught up on so many things. And it's funny because since my wife and I, like, my wife's a boudoir photographer as well as a pet photographer and a couple other things, but she, this is a slow time for her photography. So it's funny because we're like on this 2 week long date. Do you ever sneak peek at opponents' cards? Well, Zhang, I appreciate that question because that's one of the videos I'm working on. Life of a Grinder, episode 31, talks specifically about cheating and angle shooting because of that Mike Holtz video that came out today. If I see an opponent's card, first of all, I'm going to let them know. So if I have and it's usually either like an inexperienced player or an older person, because especially since I play a lot of PLO, they're looking at 4 cards. Sometimes when we're on Big O, they're looking at 5 cards. But if I see this, I will tell them, I'll say, hey, I can see your hand. And even if even if it's hard for me to avoid seeing their hand, I'll even look away and say, sir, I need to let you know I can see your hand. But I tell them that twice. And then after I tell them that twice, if they keep showing me their hand, I'm not going to tell them after 2 times. I figured you get 2 warnings from me. After that, that's about where I'll go with that. I've had that situation happen, and I've even had it when people fold. Like, this was the topic that Mike Holtz was talking about the cheating that was going on at Resorts World, or alleged cheating. Pardon me. I don't want to ever accuse anybody of cheating, especially if I was never there, or if there was no video evidence of it. But I'm familiar with Mike Holtz. Really good poker player. He's a known tournament player. If he says somebody was cheating, I would probably believe I would probably believe Mike Holtz's word. Mike Holtz has no reason to lie about that. And so if you see an opponent's hand, I think you have an ethical responsibility to tell that person, hey, I can see your hand. And that's what I said. This video, episode 31 of Life of a Grinder, is specifically on like updates. There's like, I don't know, probably 20 minutes of me just random updates of stuff that's going on in my life. And then probably like a 10-minute or 15-minute rant about cheating and angle shooting, or a discussion about it. But what's up, Barnart? Please sing one song. No, I do not sing. That is for sure. I cannot sing worth a lick. I am completely tone deaf. I can play some Cam Amon songs, but that's about it. I'm also addicted to poker. Bernards, it's interesting that you say that, because one of my sessions that I was having with one of my students recently, we were talking about poker and whether or not it's a gambling addiction for him. And I did tell him, I said, if you actually talk to a decent amount of poker pros, they'll say that they're addicted to gambling, that they channel it through poker in a constructive way. I don't know if you really can do that, because if you're truly addicted to gambling, though, you're going to end up donking it all off. Like, for example, I had a student who ended up getting a second or third in a tournament, wins like $26,000. And a week after he won it, I'm talking to him at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he says, yeah, I've lost half of it. And I called him at 2 o'clock in the morning because I told him I was going to check in on him. He was one of my students. He just won a big tournament, gave him coaching every break he had. And so he got like second place, and after a week he lost half of it. And I started telling him, I'm like, you need to stop playing roulette. He says, I can't get away from the game. I'm like, just walk by it. Just put on the deer blinders. Just go straight just don't even look at it when you're going into the poker room. A week later, dogs, keep in mind we're live. A week later, he lost all $25,000. And I had a coaching session with him. And I said to him, you need to stop playing poker. I said, you need to go on some kind of spiritual retreat. You need to get your ass out of here. You need to go do something for a month or a couple of weeks to get away from poker. Because if you're going to win tournaments and you're going to win $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just to fuck it all off on roulette and craps, then you need to stop playing poker, okay? Because it's one thing if you give it back to the poker community because you have a big win and you're like, hey, I'm just going to degen a little bit here, or take bigger shots. It's something completely different. It's something completely different when you fuck it off and just give it back to the house, which just drives me nuts. Is it worse to cheat in poker or cheat on wife? I think both of them are bad. I would not advise either one of them. What's good, Professor Blob Dylan? Hey, what's up, man? I appreciate you tuning in. I am from India, bro. Okay, I understand that. But yeah, it is a pretty interesting story. Poker is worse to cheat on. It's so sad. I've lost about $40,000 in poker. Well, Bernards, you should probably get some coaching. Uh, and maybe that's one of those things that you contact me separately. I always post my WhatsApp number, but I do coaching through Zoom. But that is something you may want to consider, is doing coaching. For one, on how to curtail not losing $40,000 in poker, but also how to lose less, and also how to combat with your losses. Because one of the first things that I do as a poker coach, like if you're curious, what does a poker coach do? Like you're sitting there, you're playing 1-2 PLO, max buy-in's $1,000. And you're like, I'm like the occasional player. I play like 15 hours a week, and you're sitting there going, what does a poker coach do? Right? The first thing I do is I plug your leaks. Okay. I try to identify what your weakest part of your game is and I plug them. Okay. And that's the first thing that I do. So if you're even if you're having good sessions, you're going to find certain leaks. I'm going to identify leaks in your game. And I'm also going to give you advice on if you are trying to be a grinder, like if you're trying to play poker professionally for a living, or if it's something that you've considered, because there's all sorts of things that people don't tell you when you decide to choose playing poker for a living is going to be your profession. They don't tell you that like your family's not going to accept it for like 4 or 5 years. They just won't ever understand. It's one of those things. I remember my brother, who I love to death, one of my brothers, Flounder. You guys might have seen him in a few videos. It was when I shipped a Big O tournament at the Venetian. It was an $800 buy-in, 318 people. It was like 50K for first, 51 and change. But my brother posted on Facebook, he's like, I can finally tell people my brother is a professional poker player. Like, and I said, finally tell? Like, do you think what I was doing before was not, I'm not following? And he goes, oh, because you finally won a tournament. And it makes a little sense, because then you're like, all right, you won a tournament, so that's what the public thinks a professional poker player is. So what happened was, that was in October. So in February, the following February, I go down to MGM Grand Detroit. I'm playing some PLO. And my brother's picking me up. We have the midnight flight, the red-eye flight that leaves at like 3 in the morning on Spirit from Detroit to Las Vegas. And I tell my brother, I'm playing the 5-5 PLO game. It's 5-5 straddle for 10, or maybe no, it's 5-10 straddle for 20. So it's a pretty big game. I bought in for, it's either $1,000 or $2,000, but I'm up like to 9,700 or something. I'm up $7,700. This is the night we're flying out to Vegas, and I call him and I say, hey, I know we're going to be in the casino for like another hour before we have to go to the airport. I said, why don't you come in here? I want to show you what a professional poker player does on maybe not a nightly basis, because obviously I was having a really good night. I said, but I want to see want to show you what most grinders actually do for a living. And he comes into the room and he sees me with almost $10,000. And I said, yeah, I bought in for 2K. I said, that's what being a professional poker player is like. It's not shipping tournaments. Like, yes, it is shipping tournaments, but the portion of shipping tournaments is not, that's like 20% of poker. The actual 80% is the grind and the things that people don't see, that you don't see on ESPN. Um, but yeah, and I, I do have some trolls that show up every once in a while. I appreciate them, even if they are watching and they're one of my trolls. I appreciate you. So, but yeah, so it's one of those things as far as like when you're getting coached by somebody, for example, like myself, I can give you that perspective. What are things like as a professional poker player, you know? And I remember when I did Dancing with Our Stars, which was like a fundraiser event up here in Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I walked in and she was like, "Oh, aren't you that professional poker player?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, what do you really do for a living?" I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Well, what do you really do? You just kind of do that as a hobby, right?" Like, yeah, lady. Okay, I do that as a hobby. That's like saying to a professional photographer, "Oh, that's just a nice like." So you just get used to that though, as a professional poker player. Um, uh, it's one of those things. So it's good. Yeah. All right. Well, what are you guys doing on Pi Day? Again, we are up to wow 56 viewers. I really appreciate that. Talking about editing videos and but yeah, I'm gonna let me know what you guys are doing. Did you guys order your pie yet? Not that I sell pie, but again, key lime is the best in my opinion. I apologize, Holly. I don't know. This is a let's see. There we go. Oh, wait a second. Well, this is an OK Boomer thing because maybe I deleted the message. How do I boot the person? I don't know if I can do that. So, how much do I play online? Oh, that's an excellent question. I would say, and I will show you what I'm editing here in a minute. I play probably 75% of my activity is. Oh, let me see. Here we go. Hide user. There we go. 75% of my activity is probably online. Maybe 65%. I don't know. It varies. Like the reason why I travel 210 days out of the year is because that's when I'm playing live. So out of those 10 days, I'm probably playing 180 of those days. And then out of the rest of the year, I'm playing online. But I do have a decent amount of online activity. What am I editing? So I am on episode. In case you're new to the channel, I have three different three different not streams, but three different portions of my channel. One is analysis of live cash games, which I'm doing a deep analysis on that video. That one I've got almost completed. Should be coming out in the next week or so. I am a convicted felon, Gexter, just so you know. But I'm also editing Life of a Grinder, episode 31. So my three portions of my channel is I have a dry erase board that I do like tournament strategies on, or if you're a no limit hold'em player, how do you transition over into being a profitable pot limit Omaha player, common things and nuances that you're going to run into with pot limit Omaha. So I have like episodes 1 through 20 in my classroom, and then I go into other not as popular games as Hold'em or PLO. So I go into like deuce to seven triple draw, then deuce to seven triple draw tournament strategy. So I have a dry erase board, and then I have Life of a Grinder, which is like shit that you get to see as a poker player. Like, for example, I might be going to Ireland next month because of just like as a Life of a Grinder, it's an opportunity that I get to do. Uh, but have I ever been to jail? I've never spent overnight in jail, but I am a convicted felon. You look like Freddie Gladue. I don't know who Freddie Gladue is, but I will probably Google that later on. What is your average hourly profit on cash games? That varies, Don. It varies on the size of the cash game, and it also varies on location, and it also varies on whether or not I'm online or live. So if you're saying overall, I don't answer that question specifically for IRS tax purposes, especially on a live stream, but I appreciate the question. It's something I do keep track of. One of the first things I tell my students to do when you become a student of mine is get a tracking software program, whether it's Bankroll Tracker, Poker Income, Bankroll. There's like 4 different kinds that are out there. I don't endorse any of them, but I am familiar with all of them. I change them every single year, which one I am using. They usually run you about 30 bucks. Wow, it's really interesting to edit these, right? Yeah, I mean, I'll show you guys if you want. I'll show you like my intro for episode 31, and it's just I'll show you a few minutes of that, or just a few seconds of that. Have you seen the cheating accusation drama at Venetian? No, I have not. My Life of a Grinder, episode 31, is about cheating. But please, Mark, inform me a little bit more of what it is you're talking about, because I have a deal with the Venetian, and I can't. I know Tommy really well. I wouldn't answer that either, to be fair. Thank you, Dexter. I appreciate that. I use Bankroll Tracker. That's a good one. How much do you make an hour, Donald? Yeah, exactly. Do you like beans? All right, I do have lots of tattoos. But here, I'll show you guys a little bit of what I'm editing here. And I'll just show you guys, I guess, just the first minute or so. And this is my shroom room, and behind me, I'm in the almost done with my taxes. But yeah, I'll show you this right here. This is episode 31. But I've got a little intro in here. I had to slide this over. This is a photo of my recent finish. Yeah, I don't know. I do a lot of editing on a Mac. My wife's business. Obviously, me with the cornrows. Yeah, I'm just throwing in some photos. Of course, the Madhouse, that's where I play most of the time, the live stream. Yeah, and then the next thing that I'm doing is I have to put in a transition or a fade from there. I use the program Wondershare, so I don't know what you guys use. I do like beans. I make $70 an hour. I've tracked 1,500 hands. Well, that's not bad, or 1,500 hours. Donald, what stakes are you playing for 70 bucks an hour? Are you doing 5-5 PLO, or are you doing 5-10 no limit hold'em, or what? Do you report that to the IRS? Mostly 1-3 PLO. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good hourly rate. Where are you playing at, Donald? Where is your local home casino? Cornrows go hard, I know. Now, here's the issue with cornrows. Now, some of you guys might know I'm about 45 years old. 60% of men over the age of 40 have balding hair. One of the things I do not have is balding hair. I have absolutely gorgeous flowing locks of hair, as I've been told by the ladies and a couple of fellas. But when I do cornrows, keep in mind it pulls it out. It doesn't pull it out, but it pulls on it. So I used to do cornrows every month when I went to Vegas. Now I am going to do them. I'm still going to do them because I love me some cornrows, but I'm not going to do them as often. But I do have, Wayne and I have dropped $4,500 collectively on our outfits for the live stream. So we're hoping that it goes viral. Again, it's March 28th, 5 to 10 o'clock Vegas time. So that's like 8 till 1 in the morning Eastern time. Hopefully our outfits will go viral. Hopefully our play will go viral. It'll be good. There's a lot of replies. Mark, you have to expand a little bit what you're talking about on this Venetian thing. Maybe I do need my second computer to Google what it is Mark is talking about. So I told my wife, I said, I should have one of those, like 2 27-inch monitors here, so I could do work for videos, do whatever else I want to do, whether it's live streaming. Makes it a lot of easier. I linked the X post. Oh, did you tag not maybe not tag me on it, but did you pull it up on my X? Let me see. Because I pulled up the Mike Holtz thing this morning about cheating. Um, let me see. I'm gonna pull up here. Have you ever played any video games? If so, which is your favorite? I appreciate that, Luke. I have. I play. I play League of Legends. That's what I play. When you play League, you don't play too many other video games. All right, I'm on X right now. All right. What days do you guys have a game going on in your club? Well, first of all, it's not my club. The club that I play at is on the Madhouse. We have games every night. Last night we had a pretty big one. But they're anywhere from 30 cent, 60 cent, all the way up to 5, 10. The big difference in ours is, when I say ours, the Madhouse, is you can buy in for 500 big blinds. So, for example, a 510 PLO, the buy-in's 500 to 5,000. A 1-2 PLO, the buy-in's 100 to 1,000. So it plays very much like a live game. And the reason why I really like that is because if you're trying to practice online for live play, it gives you the ability to do that. Um, you can't link on YouTube. The accusation centers around chip dumping late in a tournament. God, that just drives me nuts. I wonder if it's the same group of guys. Oh, it's usually at night, I see, when I'm working. So it's usually at night. Oh, uh, yeah, I mean the night games do go quite a bit because the Madhouse does have a decent West Coast following. Um, all right, where is this? Uh, I'm not finding it unless you tag me. You ever play the Spin and Goes? Thoughts and formats. You know, Shrimp, I'm so glad you asked me that question. I didn't have a student. I had a viewer, and he might even be watching right now. I don't know. But I had a viewer. I met him in Seminole Hard Rock, Hollywood this past January. He took me out for a few drinks. If you ever want to, if I'm ever in your town and you want to get my attention, just message me. You know, I'll buy the drinks, you buy the drinks, you bring the dubs, I'll bring the dubs, whatever. But in any case, he says, "Hey, I want to get some just some your thoughts. I'll buy you a few drinks and I want to ask you a few questions." He plays Spin and Goes professionally. And I was just like, "What?" I'm like, I know, like, okay, out of all the things you can do in our profession, I have a lot of respect for somebody who can sit there and grind Spin and Goes for a living. Because he was like, "Oh, I do $50 Spin and Goes. I do like 12 of them at a time." Oh my God. Like, wow. I don't personally play the Spin and Goes, but I knew that there were people who played Spin and Goes for a living. I just never met one. I was probably just as impressed with him as he was impressed with me, to be honest with you. Uh, all right. I've been looking at a schedule for an upcoming poker festival and noticed they had pot limit Badoogie and deuce to seven triple draw. Just wondering if you should play Rangers closer to a single range or triple draw format. Mujitsu, I play the pot limit Badoogie and pot limit deuce to seven triple draw extremely conservative. So I need to have three to the wheel a lot of times in deuce to seven and to start. So I need to have deuce 4-7, deuce 3-7, deuce 5-7. And by the way, I'm going to call a sizable bet. I'm even going to three bet on that flop. And even if I don't improve, depending on the SPR, I'm going to continue to still draw two. And the reason why is because when you're drawing two in pot limit Badoogie or drawing two in pot limit deuce to seven, even though your opponent has a pot size bet, if you hit, the likelihood of you getting paid is so immense because your opponent's like, "You drew two, there's no way." And when you start off with a good hand like seven deuce three, drawing two, you're like, "Yeah, even if I end up like with an 8-7 here is going to be really good." But you end up with much more premium hands that give you an incredible amount of value because people just don't believe it. They just don't believe it. So play a lot tighter to the chest, Mujitsu, and position, so important. Now, I will tell you, the big bet tournament that Wayne and I went 1-2 on down in Seminole Hard Rock, Florida, I think last April, uh, on that one in particular, with Parliament, Badugi, and Deuce to Seven triple draw, I think I was the third hand in the tournament. I busted and rebought. Because I think it was a seven Badugi, and the guy hit like a six or a seven. I think he had a 7-4, or I can't remember, but yeah, he had no. He called me down with a nine Badugi on the river, and I can't remember if I was trying to snow him, but in any case, I rebought and then ended up getting chopping it with Wayne. Long question. I live in an area where any poker is 3 hours away. Rob, you and I both, buddy. That's one of the reasons why I play online most of the time. And PLO and '08 or any variation are my games. I have to travel to play. Now I'm moving to the South month to see if I can do it. Good idea to start there. Well, Rob, first of all, if you're trying to play poker for a living, definitely '08, a limit variety of '08, like if you have a 2040 or a 3060 or a 4080 game, is going to be your bread and butter. Like you can even do a 2040 with a half kill. Those are great bankroll building games. One of my first students played the 1530 down in Detroit twice a week. I told him that he needed to grind that until he had 50 or 60,000 in his bankroll to go to before he went to Texas. Then he went to Texas, and now he's flourishing in Texas. He plays in some of the biggest games in Dallas. But so find a limit, mid stakes or high limit game if you can. But yeah, definitely going down to the South, you can do that depending on where you're going in the South. So let me know where you're going, Rob, and I'll give you some pointers on that. How do I become the greatest Omaha poker tournament player in the world? Oof, poker Bob. I almost feel like you have to sacrifice your firstborn in order to do that. You really, 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 really have to commit to the game. One of the things people talk about, a couple things, pardon me, a couple things that people talk about is the higher stakes you go up in poker, the less hours that you play. It's funny because like the 2-5, the 1-3, the 5-5 grinders, they're playing poker like 40, 60, 70 hours a week. The people that are playing like 25, especially if they're doing it for a living, they're playing like 1,000 hours a year. They're playing like half the amount of time. But yeah, it takes a lot of dedication, Poker Bob. What are you editing? Editing one of my videos called Life of a Grinder, but everybody started talking poker because I am the PLO professor. So I'm editing one of my videos on that. Guess my favorite color, probably pink. I said double draw, not triple draw. Oh, a double draw Badugi and a double draw Deuce to Seven. That's got to be a misprint, Mujitsu. That's my guess because I've never heard of a double draw Badugi and a double draw triple draw. But I would start off super conservative on those two games, whether it's a double draw or a triple draw. I'm going to go to Vegas. Orleans seems perfect. Dude, you know, the Orleans, in my opinion, is a great poker room. I just wish they didn't have the smoke coming in and the slots coming in. Honestly, if they just blocked off like from the food section over and they just glassed it off, that poker room would probably be the busiest poker room in Las Vegas. Of course, PLO, hello. Pads Poker from March 12th. Okay. That's from a few days ago. I'll have to look into that, Mark. Do you like cash or tournaments more? Well, of course, this is one of those things I talk about all the time. If you saw my last video, the analogy that we used is, cash is like the three, like if you rate people on a scale of 1 to 10 on their looks, cash is like the 3 that walks in at, 11 o'clock at night at a bar. Anybody can take the 3 home. Okay. Tournaments are like the 10 that walks in right at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like tournaments are something that, everybody wants to take the 10 home. So it varies on what I prefer between cash and tournaments, but I think you have to have a 75-25 mix. 75% you have to be doing cash, 25% tournaments, around that, plus or minus 10%. So I would not go any more than 35%. But I do run into people who are just exclusive um, tournament grinders for a living, and I don't feel for them because you can go on a 30 bullet tournament streak real quick, and that just sucks. If you were a pro, why wouldn't you live where the games are, like Vegas or Texas, instead of living in the UP of Michigan? Dexter, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking me of that. The simple answer is family. Subway smells great when they bake the bread. Yes, it does. How can I message you on the link? Shoot me a text, Mark. Oh boy. Message me on. I don't know how to do that. This is an OK Boomer moment live on YouTube. Um, you can send it to my email address, 906poker at gmail.com. The Detroit 3-3 game is no joke. It's 3-bet pre-flop frequency. I imagine you're talking about, oh, yeah, Rob, I've probably played with you quite a bit. You're playing at MGM Detroit, which, by the way, is now the only poker room in Detroit. Like, what the hell did you guys do? Like, Motor City was like, screw this. Greek Town's like, screw this. Like, now you can only play at MGM Detroit. That sucks. In PLO, a lot of the time, I read villain range wrongly. How to improve on it? Well, course PLO, the first thing I would suggest is to get better at your reads, play limit for a while. It's actually something I suggest even to no limit hold'em players to switch to like a 10-20 limit hold'em game because you get to see a lot more showdowns, so you get to see a lot more reads and pay attention to your opponent when they're betting and when you're reading. And that's usually how to improve it. You can't make a living playing tournaments unless you're taking pieces of other tournament pros. That might be true because most tournament grinders are in a stable. You know what I mean? Where there's like 5 or 6 of them that are grinding and they're all sharing action. And I'll admit, Wayne and I share 10% action. That's pretty standard, but like we travel everywhere. I mean, I know all of his innuendos and he knows all of mine. Um, have you ever met a PLO master or who is your PLO idol? What do they do better than others? I will tell you, Gus Hansen has always been my favorite, like, star poker player, if you will, which is funny because his ex girlfriend's going to be on our live stream playing 10-10 with us. But in any case, uh, so I was once at the Bellagio, and I think I was playing 40-80, and Gus Hansen was in Bobby's room. And I remember using the men's bathroom, and he came over to use the men's bathroom. I had no idea he was going to be in there. And I look over while I'm at the urinal, and there's Gus Hansen. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like my idol. This was years ago. And I kid you not, his face is planted up against the wall like this, and he's like drooling, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, "Yep, that's my idol. I'm not gonna talk to him right now." So I finished up, washed my hands, and I was just like, "He's probably having a bad night." And I went back and continued playing 40-80. So I had an opportunity to meet Gus Hansen and talk to him, but the dude was very blitzed. I don't know what he was blitzed on, but he was very blitzed. But I just like Gus Hansen, anyways. He seems like a good guy. Where would you find Limit Omaha? Well, there's other than '08. Uh, you'd be surprised. If you dig deep enough, you can find just about any game that's out there because there are places that run. For example, in Las Vegas at South Point, they have a 5100 Limit Omaha high low and then a round of Limit Omaha high. So South Point's one of them. I'm sure if you go to Texas, there's a few places there. But if not, you can always spark up an interest game and get one going. I don't know. I've been at MGM just twice, but the stacks were 1 to 2.5K. That's pretty standard, Rob. Most of the time, if you go to MGM and you're playing the 1-3 PLO game, it's not uncommon to see the stacks 4 and 5, 6K. Matter of fact, one of my longest sessions I had, I was playing the 1-3-10 because they auto straddle on the button there at MGM, which I don't like auto straddle on the button. Like, you should straddle under the gun, first of all. But let me tell you this story. I was playing 1-3-10 and I was in this game for the first I don't know, 4 hours, I was up like, I want to say 6 grand. And I was in the game for 2 grand. And then next thing you know, I lose that 8,000. And then, no, I was up to 6 grand. So I was up 4 grand. So I lose that 6,000 plus another 6,000. So literally just like $15,000 swing. I ended up being in the game for $8,000, and it was a 1-3 at MGM Detroit, 36 and a half hour session. I cashed out 10K. That was a hell of a long time. Just a hell of a long. All right, email sent. How big is it? I hope you zipped up before locked eyes on us. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but yeah. Like I said, it's just one of those things where you're sitting there in the men's bathroom, just kind of doing your thing. You're playing 4080, and then next thing you know, like you look over and you're just like, what? You know. All right. Let me see what this is here. Getting cheated and absurd floor decision at Venetian poker. Okay, I'm going to read this here in a minute after I go through these comments. Horse and Taurus at Orleans. I do like the Taurus. Now, the thing to focus on in the Taurus tournaments is the triple draw and the Raz. Focus on those because those are the two scooping games versus the split pot games. And if you haven't already, you can order my book on Amazon, How Not to Get Scooped. It's $30. It ends up being 184 pages. But one of the things I say a lot of times in the book is, and I'll show you a picture of it right over here, is scooping pots that are scooped are twice as valuable as pots that are split. But yeah, How Not to Get Scooped on Amazon. Little self promo there. Gus Hansen recently not play PLO tour. Any other PLO one? I mean, I've met quite a few like people who have 20, $30 million in tournament winnings that are, well, maybe not 20 million, but like $5, $10 million in tournament winnings. That's pretty common, especially at the series. He is a blizzard with his head against the wall. Truly seems like a good guy. Yeah, he's blitzed, dude. I was just like, I'm like, of course, that's the guy that was like my idol because I smoked dupes. I've been that fucked up before. Like, haven't we all just been that fucked up before? Unless the stakes are really high, no one is playing limit cash games. The rake makes it impossible to come ahead otherwise. I agree with you on that, Mujitsu. Like, even the people who are trying to grind 3-6 and 4-8 for a living, you can't even beat the rake. Do you know how Jared Bletznick, Josh Ariel, Laura Guerrero, Ronald Carroll? I've played with all of those guys not regularly, but like every time at the series, they're tournament players. I play a lot of them. What's the difference between PLO and Limit Omaha? I've only heard and played PLO. Wow, Limit Omaha is like buckle up, Buttercup. 8 people went to the flop. See you at the river. That's sometimes. If it's a good game, that's the way it is. Do you think Finland people play PLO so well, like Elis Parsonis? I try not making judgments. You know, the thing about PLO that I'm going to tell you right now is there's so many different ways you can play PLO that there's not like a 100% rule. This is the way you always play it. Like the reason why I love PLO versus No Limit Hold'em is No Limit Hold'em, you got a chart, and 25% of the time you're supposed to bet 75% pot and blah 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 blah. Just yeah, no, I just nope, not for me. Sorry. There's just a lot more different ways. Like for example, the different combinations you can have in No Limit Hold'em is like 1,600. The different combinations you can have in PLO4 is like, I don't know, I think it was like 200,000 or 150,000. Do I like PLO4, 5, or 6 card? Really depends on the mood and the players. I do like PLO4. PLO4 plays more aggressive than PLO5. PLO5 plays a little bit more defensive, and then PLO6 plays extremely defensive. So I do kind of lean a little bit more towards PLO4. I remember first time in Vegas, Cindy Voilette, no words exchanged, but her demeanor was lovely. Well, that's good. Any recommendations for Airbnb, Vegas, or just wherever? Well, if you can get some free hotel stays, try doing that, especially if you're going to be on the strip, because you're going to be saving a lot in fees driving back and forth. If you don't have residency in Nevada, you have to pay for parking on the strip. So if you are taking your own vehicle, what you can do is if you go to the Venetian and you play, I think it's like 20 hours in a week, they'll give you a placard, a parking placard card, and then you can park at the Venetian for free, which is just another reason why you should play at the Venetian anyways. And of course, I do get paid by the Venetian to endorse them, which is interesting because I'm going to read this post here in a little bit. Do I have kids? I have a 20-year-old. She turns 21 this year. I have been wheelchaired to my room in Atlantic City. No shame for Gus. Damn, 24-ounce white Russians. Yeah, I have a weakness to white Russians. Um, Sup, buddy? Hope you have a nice day, Leon. Thank you. There are GTO charts for PLO, but good luck ever being able to play it properly. Well, here's the other thing on Majitsu on the GTO charts. None of them are over 250 big blinds and more than 8-handed. So if you're in a 9-handed PLO table, imagine everything changes, but also 250 big blinds deep, and that's it. So they're okay for studying for tournaments, but for cash games, that's just throw them out the window. Is that just only Uber in America? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's read this post. Here we have a post about the Venetian poker, and this is a live read. So uh, I haven't seen this. This is my first time seeing this. I try keeping up with everything that's going on, but it's interesting that you sent this to me, Mark. So getting cheated in absurd floor decisions at Venetian poker. This is going to be my live read. 10 left, final table bubble, and pay jump from 11 to 14K. So it's a 3K pay jump. Spanish pro jams for 2.5 bigs on the other table from the small blind. Other Spanish pro folds big blind and slides his hand directly into the muck. Instantly calls the floor saying that there are friends in chip dumping. Okay. So he had 1.5 big blinds to call in a no limit hold'em situation. I think that's a pretty standard call, no matter what your hands are. Even though it's a 3K pay jump. Okay. So that's kind of my initial reaction to it. Flores, some new guy comes over, basically says, well, I can't make him call, and leaves without doing any investigating, allowing the deck to be shuffled and any evidence gone. I'm on the other table with 5 big blinds at the same time, and Jay Bex, okay, we should know who Jay Bex is. He's the guy that I can't remember if it was Berkey and Daniel Negreanu had some kind of bet, and they both ended up losing for the year or something. I can't remember. Jay Bex raises my big blind. I ask dealer for floor. Dealer refuses to pause shot clock at all during. Second floor comes over to my table. I say other table had cheating accusation and wasn't investigated properly. I need the clock pause and want that to be resolved before I play my hand and potentially bust in 10th. Floor just keeps telling me you need to play your hand over and over while completely ignoring people from the other table chiming in and me trying to explain the situation. So I'm playing my hand, trying to see the situation on the other table and trying to talk to the floor at the same time on a 20-second shot clock. All right. So here's the first thing that I'm going to tell you guys right now. If the floor is telling you that you need to play your hand, you need to play your hand, and he's just repeating that, he's already made his mind up. You need to play your hand. Sometimes in a poker tournament, you can get way too fixated, and I haven't read the rest of this yet. I'm going to, but you can get way fixated on a situation, and it clogs the rest of your judgment and the rest of your brain, and then you're just going to fuck off and punt all your chips. But let's read the rest of this. I wonder why they keep missing their guarantee. An entire new room and still can't wash out the old stench. Good luck tomorrow. Feel free to chime in if you felt I misinterpreted, but pretty much I'd appreciate if nobody tipped on a win tomorrow. Well, so does that mean he busted out on 10th? Because he said they're 1 seat away. And so, I don't know. First of all, the floor should have, like, before the hand went on, so this isn't Pad's poker. So he's saying somebody else was calling him out. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Like, if that happens, that's really unfortunate. Obviously, call the floor. And you can't, the problem is you can't force somebody to call. Like, first of all, the tournament director's decisions is always going to be final. Like that's the golden caveat star that they have at the bottom of poker tournaments. Like and reading people and the tournament director has the final say so on all things. Um, so in a situation like this, and I see it got 250,000 views. Holy shit! How did I not see this? But in a situation like this, I mean, you can't force the guy to call. Maybe they're friends. Maybe they're colluding. Maybe they share action with each other. It's soft play. It's unethical and it's fucked up. But you're gonna run into that from time to time. What you need to do is just call it out, make mention of it, remind it, and karma will catch up with those people. Like maybe they'll be a chip leader with 3 to go, and the next thing you know, they're out in third. I don't know. Like I've seen it happen. I've been in that situation. I've been chip leader with 3 left and busted out on third, and I've been third with 3 left and ended up winning the thing. So I mean, or even gotten second or whatever. Yeah, I mean that really sucks. But you're gonna have that. Do you like Brian Rass play PLO too? Yeah. Do you see the Daniel Negreanu dealer choice final table last week? No, I did not. I've been focused too much on like editing, and just playing. Last week I had a really good week online. This week I started off really good. I was up like 2,500 or 3K, but I lost like 1,500 last night. But I've just been grinding, doing my taxes and videos. But it's funny because I'm working on 3 videos right now that we're talking about. But yeah, now I've got to do a transition. See all the people that logged in to see the editing videos. Then we get to talk poker. Now we're done talking poker. Now we're going back into editing videos. But yeah, feel free to ask me whatever you want. I think I'm gonna go smoke a doob. Yeah. I was thinking about doing a live session from my dry erase chalkboard and see if people had questions regarding that, especially on tournaments. Maybe I'll do that in May before I drive to Vegas. What do you guys think about that? Let me know about that. But yeah, on this post on Twitch, not Twitch, on X, I think it's interesting. Looking at stack sizes. So I like what Vanessa said here. Did you see? No, I did not. It was interesting. Players made not only in-game mistakes, but also errors in-game selection choice. Oh, I like it. I like your analysis, Majitsu. Zach, hand selection, hand selection, hand selection. Oh, limit OA tournaments. How to win. Go. Yeah. Limit OA tournaments. Yeah, I would say hand selection is starting. The other thing, and I'm going to tell you this story. Danny, who is a bracelet winner, can't remember what his last name is. I play with him regularly on the circuit. We were in a limit 08 tournament, $500 buy-in at Caesars, and I'll never forget. It was capped pre-flop, capped on the flop, capped on the turn. A check. I checked. He bet. I raised. He called, and he won with a pair of tens. And the whole table just went, what just took that down? And it was funny because I just looked at him. I said, don't worry, Danny, you and I are playing a different game. In limit 08 tournaments, depending on where you're at the point of before end of registration, you should be capping a lot of bets. You should be getting a ton of value in those hands before end of registration. Basically, before end of registration, you want to have about 2x starting stack. You're always going to look at bets as far as terms of big bets, which you're a limit player, so you should be looking at big bets anyways, in forms of the tournament. But yeah, it's a very thin narrow to win, because the thing about limit tournaments is you're only ever like 3 to 5 hands from either being the chip leader or being busted. That's how limit tournaments work. You're never getting a bluff through. I mean, next, I don't use the term, you guys watch me enough, especially when it comes to PLO. I don't use the term never or ever. So it's rare. It's very rare you'll get a bluff through. I agree with that. Do you have a date for April's meetup game? I'll be down there a month. 10-10. Bit too big for me, but I'd stop and say hi. Yes, Rob, I do. Let me look up a calendar here. And It's the last Saturday, calendar 2025. Oh boy, I just needed the dates. All right, we are looking at April 26th is our next meetup game. That's our 5-5 meetup game is April 26th. So the stream is going to be April 25th. It's the last Friday of the month is our stream, and then the meetup game is the last Saturday of the month. Now, we do have one in May as well, but we don't end in June or July because of the series. We actually haven't discussed that with Tommy yet, but our contract is for March, April, May. We skip June and July. And then 4 out of the last 5 months, and we haven't determined those dates, we have to show up between August and December. And we're going to try sticking with the theme of the last Friday of every month. What we're really hoping, especially since we've dropped so much money on outfits so far, and this is our first set of outfits, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Danny, for giving me for giving us this idea. Last December, I was at the WPT. Danny comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, where's Robin?" And I said, "Robin?" I said, "You mean Wayne?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "I think of you guys like Batman and Robin. Where there's one of you, there's always the second." And he's like, "You guys should start wearing costumes and stuff." We're going to start on the stream on the 10/10, so it'll be fun. So don't forget to tune into the live stream. For example, when it got heads up, the player that lost to Negreanu was picking stud games when it makes more sense to play triple draw games, as that gives you the biggest advantage in a heads up format. Well, you have to pick games that you think your opponent is weak at. I don't think Negreanu is weak at deuce to seven triple draw heads up. That's just my gut. It is a reading game. Daniel Negreanu is one of the best readers in the world. I put him in the same category as Charles Corral. So stud, there's still going to be some reading heads up, but if you think your opponent's weaker on stud, then you're better off calling stud. I didn't watch it though. What's my social security number? Wow, just ask it right out, Marcus. We appreciate you. If you cap on 4 streets, then it's 30-1 to call the river. Hence, bluffs just don't make it through. That is correct, Dexter. That is correct. But sometimes they do. Here's the thing. You might even say, Professor, what the hell did you do check raising there on the river? And he just had a pair of 10s. First of all, at that point in the hand, I knew the only way I could win was to check raise. And I knew even though the odds might be against me, say, for example, a 10% chance of winning, because there was so much in the pot, I had to take that chance. The fact that I checked, he bet, I check raised, and he recognized that that might be the only way I can win the hand just means that he's an extremely experienced tournament player. Because if I was super nutted, I would have checked raised as well. Or even if I had like 2 pair, I was going to check raised as well. But he has to call for that exact same reasons. Sort of. I mean, you can't check raise a calling station. You have to check raise somebody that is good enough to fold. That's what you have to do in a limit tournament. If you're check raising as a bluff in a limit tournament, you are essentially telling the other person that you appreciate them, that you respect them as a poker player, that you respect them so much that even when they're getting 20-1 odds, that they can make that fold, that they're a good enough poker player to make that fold. So when I check raised Danny and he called and I said, "You're good," he goes, "I got a 10. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, if it's a calling station, I'm never check raising them. Anytime you're bluffing again in a hand, the first question you have to ask yourself is my opponent capable of folding? If the answer is yes, and you figure maybe there's a 10% chance I have of winning this, or maybe a 20% chance, because here's the other thing. The way the board was, I think it was like deuce 4-10, and the turn was like a 9, and then the river was like something else, like a king. And I had ace 3-5, like I think it was like ace 3-5 something. I can't remember, but it was like with diamonds too, and the king was just a complete brick. If he has a similar draw, because I think he had ace 3-5-10, but no diamonds, there are some times where he's folding. He could have had ace 3-5-6, So, like I said, there you give yourself an opportunity to win the pot. You can't just always give away all those chips. But again, the first question you have to ask yourself is my opponent capable of folding? I understand, Gexter, but see, that's the difference. You're looking at it from a no limit or a pot limit perspective. You're not looking at it as a limit grinder. Limit grinders don't look at I'm getting 30 to 1 to make the call very often. They do sometimes, but most of the time they just go, am I beat? I am. Okay, I muck it. Not that they're just going to muck to a check raise, but they go with their reads more than they'll go with the size of the pot, I guess is what I'm saying. Or at least I feel a little old school. I feel a little old school. So yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about it. I don't know. But yeah, if you have a 0% chance of winning the pot by check folding or betting because they can call, or you have a 10% chance of winning by check raising, I'm going to pick check raising every time. That's an exploit I use against new players, good players. That's true. I hear you. I think I'm about to end the stream because I've been drinking coffee and a ton of water, and I'm going to go smoke a doob. And we've been here for an hour. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Any final questions, let me know. I'm going to give it about 30 seconds or so. I'm going to read more on this X. You need to ask is if you get check raised on the final betting round and limit, is the opponent ever capable of bluffing? Mujitsu, I love it, baby. You're like listen to the professor. But yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna read this X thing. I hope my explanation of it was good enough. That was my literally live read on it. But if you like questions about cheating or angle shooting, I my next Life of a Grinder video is coming out. I'm working on that today, as well as my live deep analysis. Yeah, I'm just doing nothing but videos today. But yeah, check it out. It'll be like 40 or 50 minutes long because I haven't done a Life of a Grinder video. So some of it's going to be like dog sled races and shit that I was doing a month and a half ago. Favorite place to play in Vegas? Do you smoke or drink before playing? Yes, I do. Sometimes it depends. If I'm on a tournament, I don't smoke. Let me be clear about that. Great question. If I'm in a tournament, I don't smoke. If I'm playing cash, I do smoke. I play better cash. Daniel Negreanu said that there's a guy that he used to play where if he had a little bit of alcohol, the guy was like crazy good. He got too drunk, he was bad. If he was stone cold sober, he was bad. I'm that guy where I need to get a little buzzed, whether it's from drinking or from smoking, in cash games. But in tournaments, no smoke. Um, yeah, so that, but where's my favorite place to play in Vegas? Honestly, it's between the Venetian and the Wynn and the Orleans. If I want to play like the nice, I keep in mind I get endorsed by the Venetian. If there's a PLO game going on in the Venetian, one of the reasons why I love playing the Venetian versus the Wynn, first of all, to get to Wynn poker, you have to walk through the whole casino, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way all poker rooms are set up in Las Vegas. But the challenge that you run into, yeah, you get the occasional person who is playing craps and rolls over. Not really. The Wynn poker room's over in the corner. The thing I love about the Venetian poker room is it's on that second floor, and you get the guys who are like, "Honey, you go shopping. You go shop in that used bookstore where it's rare books, where the cheapest books like $600, or you go into that Robert Graham store where they're selling $600 shirts. I'm gonna go hang out in the poker room." You get those players coming into the Venetian and they play 1-2 PLO and they're like, oh, buy-in's $1,000. My wife's buying $1,000 for this stuff. And they sit down. It's new players a lot more constantly at the Venetian than it is at the Wynn. So you get a lot more fish at the Venetian. But if there's no PLO game going at the Venetian, I'll go to the Wynn. But recently, the PLO and double board bomb pot's been going every single day at the Venetian. So I really, really like the Venetian. Keep in mind, worse them. But I'd still play there. And then I'd play at the Wynn or I'd play at the Orleans. The thing I love about the Orleans is if you go to the Orleans 2 or 3 days in a row, every single dealer, floor person, chip runner, et cetera, at the Orleans will know your name. They'll know your name. They'll know what games you like to play. That's why the Orleans is so great. If they blocked that whole thing off and got rid of all the smoke, wow, it'd be a great room. How does one become a student of the professor? You shoot me a message on WhatsApp, 906-361-2509. Again, 906-361-2509. And it's regular. I post my WhatsApp number. I do get some people who troll me and text me weird shit, but I'm not really worried about that. 906-361-2509. Just shoot me a text, Jason. We'll talk more about that Later on, no smoke, no slot noise. It's the best room ever. Mark, I agree with you. The Venetian is just, and let me tell you, that live stream room is pretty baller. My only criticism is table 7-handed versus 8-handed, but whatever. It's not the yeah, Venetian poker room, convenient location. Yeah, you get convention folks. I mean, the constant influx of fish is what you're always looking for a poker player, and you get more of that at the Venetian. That's why I've been on the South Point guys to move. They have a 5, 10, 20 big O like on Tuesdays and Thursdays or some shit. I'm like, guys, move it to the Venetian. When you start off and you have 2 tables of big O that starts off at 7:30 and the game ends at midnight, it's because you're not getting an influx of new players. Move it to the fucking Venetian. But all right, guys, I went over my minute mark. I literally have to. My eyes are watering. I need to use the restroom so bad. But I appreciate all of you guys. Hit the like and subscribe, the notifications, the what about and then I've got some videos that'll be coming out. And yeah, I'll probably post some more live stuff coming up later. I did a live stream. I might do that because the games online have been huge. But play smart, everybody, and run like a god.